Yep.
Okay.
All right, guys. So this is the Total Potential podcast, and I want to welcome our guest today, Symien. If you would, please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Right. So I'm Symien. I'm 18 years old from Bloomfield, Connecticut. Singer, songwriter, producer. Been making music since I was 3. Over time, I just grew musically, started singing, got into production, beats. So all that just tuned into me, like wanting to have my own business, make my own music. So
Yeah, and
here
he's
I am
also
now.
got a lot of great people around him. I've been speaking to your manager. He teaches at Xavier, which is real close to me, and he recognized my area code, so it's a pretty small world.
Right. Yeah. He's been a big influence on me, like since the whole summer. Because ever since quarantine happened, it was like, okay, it's like I'm making music, so now it's like okay, am I gonna keep doing that? Like there's like a lot of distractions and everything going on. So he's definitely been keeping me on track and just helping me with like the business side of everything, knowing like what's right and what's wrong, and just
Yeah.
connecting me with like good people. So
Absolutely, and I think, someone like me that can then give you that same sort of mentorship when it comes to media. And for example, like when you're on a podcast, right? Like look at the camera, right? Instead of looking
Right.
all around or different things like that. That's kind of like you're staring me in the eyes as if, we're sitting right next to each other. That Joe
Right.
Rogan talked about, that being one of the greatest aspects of podcasts is that when else in your life do you have the opportunity to sit down and talk to somebody for hours at a time? It's pretty rare.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, with podcasts, and the funny thing is that with me, podcasts is something I've always been interested in. Because I'm into sports, stuff like that. So this is definitely something that I've always wanted to, get into, and also just to like let people know like what I'm about in terms of my music and as a person. So it's always a great opportunity. So I'm definitely thankful.
Absolutely. And I think, I've also tried to connect you with Dom, Days with Dom. He's got about a podcast going on, and he's a big fan. He's a D3 athlete. So I definitely think, there's a lot of crossover. And that's the real reality television, right? That
Right.
what people don't recognize is, you know, me as a person sitting here under these lights, where if you're in a reality show, you've got all those lights, and that it's not actual real reality. And I think podcasts allow us to totally disarm and just totally have a free medium to talk about anything that we want. That rather than like,
Yeah.
who you want to be when you grow up, it's rather like, well, what do you want to learn next? What's the next thing that I want to learn about? So, what was your inspiration getting into music so early, and also taking it so seriously? Because it's one thing, that I would like to ask everybody to do is check out the link of the music video down in the description, because the production quality, like you said, the beat production, did you produce that beat as well?
Yeah, I made the beat. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a triple threat kind of situation where we've spoke about different opportunities with videography, but to be able to have that eye and to be able to put it together, I commend you for that. So, what was the inspiration getting into music? Was it, your family? Was it friends? Was it the situation that you were in and like, how you came out of it?
Right. So from I'd say when I was 3, I grew up in the church. So like that's first off. My parents had me in the church when I was at a young age, is like when I was born. So at that point, I was in the choir. So that's basically what like where the start of like my music career was really, because I got used to like performing, learning all different types of music, and like if you know about like gospel music, you learn different types of chords. You're doing everything with
Yeah.
gospel music. So from then on, like that just became one of my passions, along with basketball. So over time, I was like, okay, I love music, and then once I started meeting the right people in high school, that made me get into like production, all types of stuff like that. The song that's in the description actually is the first song I ever made. That was my sophomore year of high school. Now
Yeah.
I'm in my freshman year of college, and just looking back at that, like that was a lot of people like consider that like their favorite song of mine. So once that happened, like everyone like loved that song. From there on, I was like, okay, I really have to take this serious and like just keep pushing on from here. But yeah, I'd say from the start, I'd say church is definitely like
Yeah,
the
the
root of everything.
inspiration.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think,
Yeah.
going into your music more, that you said that it's everybody's favorite. And I think you've kind of taken this strategy of, maybe not putting 150% into the rest of the work, but that trying to find somebody like me that would then come along, through that grind and then, put you in a position to where you could be in a more development type of operation, so then you could put time and that it would be worth your time and worth your while. And I
Right.
think that that's very important because there's a lot of artists that, want to put things out every week, and I don't even get to hear the vision. Like, whereas with you, although you still want to, keep churning stuff out, at least you have the vision that, like, when you were to meet somebody that has a record deal type of opportunity, that you would be able to grasp that and take that opportunity because, going to school for it, having, business consultants in your life. Um, Talk a little bit about the people that have helped you become successful, like whether or not it was friends or family or the church,
Right.
school, your consultant, like who's your team around you?
I'd say to start with start with my parents, just from like a character perspective. They raised me the right way, which has allowed me to like I guess have good judgment on who I'm gonna work with in the future. And they've definitely just put me like around like the right sources and stuff. Like my parents, they have music connections and stuff. They've let me meet different types of artists at like gatherings and stuff like that. So I'm definitely thankful for what they've done. Also, I'd say a lot of the people is my friends. Because there was a point where I was like, okay, as I was saying with the music taken seriously, it's like my friends have a lot to do with like me, like wanting to keep going and stuff like that because they'll push me. Um, Miles, the one you were mentioning about, like my consultant, he actually has me in his program and like he's helping me with like a wide range of just things from business, vocal lessons, all types of stuff because he sings himself, so he helps me with vocal lessons.
Yeah,
And I'd say,
exactly. Give me a little bit
yeah,
about his background
right. So
because I'm gonna
me
have
and
him on the
my,
podcast too. But just so you can give him a little bit of a shout out.
right. So me and Miles, we have like first of all we had like family connections when we were younger because like we grew up around the Hartford area. So
Yeah.
yeah, we also had like the same vocal trainer. When I was younger, I had a vocal trainer. Her name was Jolie Rock Brown. Same with Miles. So that was already a correlation, and then our families already knew each other. So
Yeah.
after a while, me and Miles, we knew that we were singing. When I was like, I'd say 11 or 10, I did a duet with Miles at my dad's birthday. So then after a while, it was like, okay, as I was doing like my music, Miles just he wasn't in CT for a while, but then he heard I was doing my music and he had this endeavor about his program. So then that's how we basically got connected and now we're working together. And it's really good because he's helping me basically stay on track. And I say that a lot, but he really does because like without him during quarantine, I don't really know where I would be because like it's easy to get sidetracked and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Well, and I think, not enough people talk about it, and we're also a product of it creating media, right? That at the end of the day, we're really just sitting around staring at black boxes. Like these TVs that we're looking at, sure, they're giving us a lot of entertainment, but what real value is entertainment giving us? That, celebrities on social media are the products. That what people don't realize is it's not the everyday consumer that is the product of Instagram. That Instagram or TikTok goes to their investor meetings and that their stock price is dependent on how quickly that they can turn someone from nothing into a celebrity, and that these
right,
platforms are actually made specifically for the purpose of creating fame or celebrity or clout, and that we ourselves are the product where most people that are, like you said, getting lost in the sauce, being comfortable with being comfortable and just vegging out on the couch and just, watching different shows. I don't want to talk too much
right,
shit, but you know how it is that it's kind of like there's no soul anymore. And I think that I was talking to somebody today, and his name was Brandon, and I thought he was a different Brandon, because Albert Einstein said I can only remember like 150 names at one time.
Mm.
That this society is going to turn into ones and zeros. That rather than there being hundreds of thousands of Brandons, everybody's just got a 16-digit code.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you say that because like I I feel like in our generation, especially like artists, we don't allow ourselves to just live life and then make music off of that. I feel like it's became like really okay. I have to release, and like you got to do what you got to do as an artist. But like what I've been learning is like recently, at least, it's like the more I live my life and just like live more free flow,
Yeah.
I make better music just naturally. And that's why I'm excited for like a lot of the music I'm going to release in the future because like it really correlates with like a lot of like the things I'm doing now. So that's definitely like an aspect I've tried to have, just like live life, and just let like whatever happens happen. Not saying like okay, slow down with your music, but just have everything line up with what you're trying to do, so you could have an image, whether that's whoever's trying to connect with you in the future, they know what you're about. So
Yeah. I love it. And I think that podcasts allow us to find people that have similar backgrounds and similar inputs into their life, because at the end of the day, a corporation is just a group of like-minded people that are all benefiting mutually from each other. And that if you can't beat them, join them. And that how can we develop a company of individuals that are all benefiting mutually. That I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy, right? I'm not the talent, right? Like I'm getting in front of the camera because I have to, because I have this equipment, and if I have no talent, I have to film myself, right? And I think a lot of good intentioned people that typically would not be on social media, right? That if it wasn't for Corona, you'd be busy in school. You wouldn't be sitting here on an interview, chopping it
yeah,
up. That I think, in one sense, for me, like as an only child, my life, in the country, my life has not changed a bit, right? That for me, being an only child, always being alone, and not having anyone to produce, I've had to produce myself, and this is the podcast. And I think I want to create a podcasting hosting network. So look at me like ABC or Fox, and then you would have a podcast on my network. So you would call in, and then you would call in your guest, and then what I would do is sit here and remove my screen, right? And there it is. There's your own podcast, right? That's what I'll be able to produce. So, someone like you could invite a second person on. I could disappear, and then nobody would know. We would change, all these graphics, and you would have a podcast in about 15 minutes.
Right.
So that's the type of empowerment that I want to do, for people like you. And I spoke to another woman in Wales in the UK, and I definitely think it's somebody that you may want to connect with, that they don't really have hip hop or anything in Wales, and that's like a huge gap in the market and a competitive advantage in an absentee market. That I don't know if your consultant has talked to you about absentee markets.
We haven't gotten too deep into that yet.
Okay, so let me tell you about absentee markets. So, for example, like in an area that there isn't something, you bring it into it, and it's going to do well because it has never been in that location. So, like, I asked her if there was a hip-hop station, and she said no. And her mom has connections to the BBC. So, I would love to produce for her, similar to you, to where we need different artists to be able to funnel into the UK through this BBC offshoot. So that's definitely something. You could also talk about sports, that would be a part of it as well. where it wouldn't just be about hip hop. You know, you could also interview sports people as well, which would then expand your dynamics. You know, so this is all possible. You know, with virtual reality, I mean, this is all possible from our own homes. You know, and sure, we may have to update a few things because, you know, that mic, it's popping a little bit. So this is another suggestion from a media standpoint, is that what Joe Rogan typically suggests to people is to keep a fist away from the mic. At least that mic. Like, obviously, I have this mixed and I have limiters and all kinds of stuff, but just a suggestion, right, for future podcasts, that the mic did clip a little bit. So just, you know, be aware of that. That could you hear your voice a little bit to where you could hear
I can
it
hear
clipping?
When I get closer, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so that was just like I said, that the Total Potential podcast is all about people reaching their total potential. So this is an opportunity to have people out that have not yet had a media experience to have that media experience. And that's what we spoke about, you know, earlier today in our pre-interview. And before I go forward on the rest of the questions about short-term and long-term vision, do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions for me? Anything on your mind?
I guess, what is your overall vision, I guess, on the music side of everything?
Yeah, I would like to be able to provide a Motown for artists. Basically a high-end RV park, co-working, co-living space where people could seek development. And that I don't want your entire career. I don't want 4 albums. Whatever we work on here, yeah, you know, we're going to have a piece of it, you know, and sure, if people have a budget, you know, I won't take equity, but I want to have a record label type of understanding where, yeah, this isn't a 360 deal, right? But it's based on the project, right? That people would come here, do a DJ Khaled-esque mixtape type of feel where there would be 3-4 features per song and we would just be bangers, right? You would bring in your old song that did you well, and then I'd pack 3 artists on the same song and we would just mix it and then re-record it and then shoot a video with 4 artists, right? And just do the DJ Khaled cheat, right?
Right. Yeah. Sounds dope. Like a good idea. So.
Yeah. So that's my music idea, but guess what? I'm sorry to say there is no money in music, to be honest. That, yeah, you know, I love music, but everybody can steal music. It's all copyright infringement. So the real thing we need to get into, and we talked a little bit about your modeling background, that movies, you know, series content as well, that's also in my vision. You know, shooting feature films, or at least, you know what I would like to shoot? The trailers for the feature film, right? That would sell it, where we'd only need 3 or 4 scenes, not a full-on movie. So then we would get people's interest in the project first, rather than, you know, putting out all the money. I'm getting cold.
Right.
I should have turned on the heat in here. It's a 3,600 square foot. My grandpa was a machinist, an inventor. He would design assembly lines and then would go to Hong Kong and all across Asia and Europe, installing them and supervising it. And, you know, pretty dope. You know, I wish he was still around. That I've been thinking about a design for a stand-up, seated, stainless steel hot tub. Like a hot tub, but like a shower, but it would be a hot tub, right? Like a bathtub, but that just goes up. Like
that's an interesting
for
idea.
Single person, right? So you could still get a bath, but it's less water, right?
Word.
And then if it was stainless steel, then it could withheat, you know, because I just bought a thermos because of Black Friday, and I've been like putting tea in my thermos and then in the morning it's still hot, and then I can have like fresh hot tea literally the millisecond that I wake up, So I'm like, what if I could create like a stainless steel hot tub that would be like in a thermos, but you would probably have to bring in like oxygen and stuff like that it wouldn't be a vacuum seal, then you wouldn't have oxygen. So that's the only problem about that. But like a stainless steel shower that's a hot tub for one person. Like that's
very innovative.
I don't know, because my grandpa worked specifically in high grade stainless steel. So he passed away when I was 2, so I didn't really get to experience much with him, but it's in my blood, where it's like, this music stuff is great, but this career chose me. I didn't choose this career, right? When I was going to business school, I got a 3.8 GPA, Dean's List, and I got into a marketing class where, typically I would do 100% of the work because I wanted to get an A, right? And so for the first time, I met in one of my classes someone that did 25% of their work. Like, sure, I still had to put together the PowerPoint, but I still had to do 75% of the work, right? And he had a company that was in the music business. So that kind of sparked my interest in promotion, and that I would hire videographers and photographers and they wouldn't show up, right? And I just started thinking to myself, well, the only person that I can depend on is myself. So with my partner's confidence, I invested everything that I had. I sold my Camaro, sold my boat, dirt bikes, kayaks, that I'm all in. Where, I purchased a laptop, I purchased a camera, and that the reason why I'm doing promotion is that if you own a business, you need to do promotion. I would love to just be the quiet CEO doing nothing, just telling people what to do. But nowadays, that's just not possible. That you are your own boss. So tell me a little bit about your vision and, what are some of your short-term goals and long-term goals?
So for my short-term goals right now, I'm actually working on a project. Within that, and it wasn't like a while ago I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on a project, but it was like over quarantine and stuff, I'm writing a lot of songs. They all kind of relate in the same bubble. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just focus on this project that I'm making now. So in terms of short-term goals, that's that, and I'm definitely trying to spread my music more throughout Connecticut. That's also been one of my goals, I guess. Kind of like long-term too, is to connect with like more Connecticut artists, and like whether in the future I can help out other Connecticut artists like that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely just trying to widen my range of music because I like to make pop, hip hop, R&B. So I'm working with all different types of artists. So yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think, being able to provide and share the platform, it's really just a big show and tell type of thing, and it's been great having you on, man. I think, we basically covered quite a bit. Now, if you wanted to, I could put that beat back on. Do you freestyle or do you primarily rap?
Believe it or not, I'm more of a singer.
Okay.
So like I'm not the type to I can freestyle, but I'm not like
If you were to like text me one of your beats, could you rap over it? Or maybe in the future too. Just talking about, different future content ideas.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
That we should definitely do like a live performance type of deal.
Definitely. There's this song I'm gonna record that I think would be dope to do live, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you already have it ready, you can just send me the beat.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm actually finishing it up now. I'm about to record it in like the next 3 days. So once the track's done, we can like connect on that.
All right.
Man.
Well, that's great. And what we'll do is we'll even just make that into its own podcast, right?
Right.
And then just stream it the same way.
Right.
And then I'm trying to think, because you can hear the beat from me, right? That I'm okay. So you would be able to do the song by me just playing it the same way that I am now.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any other questions for me? Where can people find you?
Oh, so you can find me on SoundCloud, Apple Music, Spotify, basically any streaming platform. As I said, I'm working on a lot of music right now, so I'm definitely going to get back into promoting my music on the regular and just putting out great content. So you can find me on all of those. And then the music video to my song My Soul that I released about, honestly, it's been about 2 years now, is in the description.
Oh,
So,
great.
yeah.
Great. That he'll be sending me all the links that he wants me to hook up with. And whether or not this comes out, when it does, I want to please ask you, if you haven't, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. I'm not just building this platform myself, I'm building this platform with folks like Symien. So definitely stay tuned with all of those links down in the description. This has been the Total Potential Podcast. And as always, we'll see you.
All right.